Connie, I'm so nervous. Fix my fault live. These people are watching you right now. There's a lot of them right now. What do you have, 150-ish on the line? Something like that? Okay.
Cool.
Let's talk about this swing right here. So we've got two swings to look at today. This is Ben.
Ben,
Is that right?
yes.
You sure it's Ben?
Pretty sure.
Okay, let's call him Spalding. So Spalding makes a swing, and he claims he has a problem with overdrawing. Let's just play this one all the way through. So he hits balls that start too straight and hook, and this one hit that little curved part on the shaft where it meets the head. And that's
right there.
Dangerous. You shouldn't do that. All right, let's take a look at Spalding's downswing. So starting all the way up to the top, there is, this will be a little bit hard to see on the feed, but the club face is more closed than I think you'd say a normal traditional swing is. But really he starts to have some problems on the downswing. And I grabbed Cameron Champ, who's a very long hitter, very good at golf, put him over on the right because he's a good demonstrator of the downswing principle that Spalding here needs to know a little bit better. Still thinking Spalding's pretty good.
Okay, I'm gonna have to explain that to me.
Okay. That's right. Someday we'll explain this American movie thing to you. Okay, so two differences in here. So first you've got Spalding's hand depth behind him is passing through close to the middle of his bicep. But when you look at Cameron Champ, who's going to swing a little straighter into the ball, first the shaft angle is a little bit different. It's pointing closer to the ball. It's not quite as vertical as this one. But you might notice how that's a little further out away from him. Not much. It's still behind him. It's just not as far behind him. And the shoulder turn is a little bit different. Let's go down another couple frames. And as I move this down, this will be a really nice place to start drawing some lines. So I'm just tracing the path of the club head, and I'll do the same thing with Cameron over here when the shaft's parallel to the ground. That's pretty close to the same point in time when the shaft's parallel to the ground. Let's just start over here. So I've got the sweet spot of the club there. This one is about here, just with some X's. Now, what do you see that's different between how Spalding here is moving and Cameron?
For one, we can see how far behind the club head is here from his hands. This is slightly behind, but not as much as we have there with Ben.
Yep. And what about the shoulder turn?
Yep. So you can see here it's a lot squarer versus here, definitely a lot more closed.
A lot more closed. Tour average at that point in time?
About 1 degree open.
You got it. So that was much more like the 20 to 30 degree range, which you could see really nicely if you came in and get your swing measured. Now let's connect some dots. This is always a fun game I used to play as a kid. And this is really representing in 2 dimensions as best we can here, the path the club is moving into the ball. So talk me through this one, the difference between the shaft parallel to the ground and where the club is now.
Well, this one definitely a lot flatter coming in. There's this coming more straighter in towards the golf ball.
So now for Spalding here to hit this ball, his angle of approach is really acute into the ball. The club head is very close to the ground at this point in time, and it's moving tremendously into out. Meanwhile, Cameron Champ connecting those dots again, you can see how that's just really one consistent plane. It's one angle. It's close enough to a plane. As we're connecting these dots, you'll start to see some plane changing, and this is one way that you can measure your swing at home. Now when you swing that far into out, you can still see the path of the club connecting the sweet spot here, how that's moving into out even more. And we'll keep going a few more frames, connect some more dots.
And that's very dangerous. Look at that.
Look at what? Tell me what you're looking at.
Now into out he's swinging.
Yeah.
It's getting closer towards that, I would say, that neck area on the club head.
Yeah. So now you can see if I just took this 2-dimensional picture and tried to make it a little more 3D so that you can see the angle and the shape of it, and we do the exact same thing with Cameron, you can see how the club head at this point in time for him is almost traveling up and down the same plane.
Yep.
That's just showing you how straight he's really swinging into the ball. The path of the club isn't shifted tremendously into out. Okay, so did that just for the visuals and that you can understand how to measure someone's swing direction. That's at least 10 degrees into out would be my guess based on just watching someone do this 1,000 times. And the way that you could adjust this is pretty simple. So let's go over here. We'll switch cameras and test Kevin's skills.
All right.
Did you do it right, Kevin? You still working? Oh, look at that, you nailed it. Okay, great. So let's do the lead arm abduction part. So this is a piece of golf that isn't often described. So on the downswing, don't turn your shoulders and just pull your hand towards my hand. Good. And you see how that is pushing the club out away from Connie? That is happening in the downswing. It usually starts to happen pretty early in the downswing. I think people are trying to do that immediately, even before the downswing is finished. But when you pull the arm down, you can see how that moves away from Connie. Now bend forward like you would when you're playing golf, and start up at the top and do the same thing with your lead arm pulling away from your chest. So all she's doing is just moving her arm across her chest like this. But when you're bent forward, that brings the club downward. That downward force would be a good one for Spalding to have a little bit more of. Couple that with pulling his handle down, and then when the shaft's parallel to the ground, that's where he needs to turn on the afterburners of how you're going to start to move your belt buckle like towards my hand, turn your shoulders more, and move through the ball that way. So it's not just turning, but that's what it should feel like to him, is a lot of turning and a lot of bending backward or extending through the ball.
Okay.
So what are some ways that Spalding here could practice?
I really like the bowler's drill.
Okay.
Standing with your right foot slightly back, and then getting to the top of the backswing, feeling like you're letting your arms go through, but because of the way you're standing at address, you're not going to be able to turn your chest or your lower body as much as before.
Sure. So there's two pieces in that one that's important. That would be the way to learn how to just pull your arm down. You could swing one arm swings too. That would be a good way to make that feel.
For sure.
And then the other one is pulling the shaft down as fast as you can, but still having your shoulders and your hips turning and bending backward more as you hit the shot. So there's multiple lessons to be had in there. I'd start with that lead arm abduction, or just the rate that you pull that away.
So just feeling this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'd get right into how do you get turned more open when you have a straighter swing direction into the ball. Make sense?
Yep,
Should
sounds
we go on
good.
to the next one?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you remember her name?
Brianna?
Pop quiz.
Brianna.
Is it Brianna?
I think so.
Did I get that right? All right, so let's put her up here on the side. Okay. It's my favorite part of the whole video, is this finger coming in, hitting play. But let's get into her swing. So she's talking about how she either hits the ball to the left, that's the top of her swing, or I think she pops this one up. We're going to look at that in a second. Or she mentioned that she hits it to the right. There's no real definition of right other than I think it was right and short.
Okay.
So I'm not thinking those sliced as much as they were hit so far off the toe. They just popped up. Make sense?
Yep.
So let's put up some pro swing here. See who we have. I noticed this one.
Oh.
Does that look familiar?
Kinda.
It's like a younger, sprier, faster version of you.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? That's what I
think
see.
so.
Anyway. Okay, so let's check out the downswing. So Brianna, or Brianna? Sorry, I'm terrible. Brianna. Okay, so the downswing when the shaft's parallel to the ground looks better than Spalding's did, for sure. She's got the club with the sweet spot relatively close to her hands, a little bit to the left. This is good. She's ready to hit this thing pretty nicely. She's got the face, if anything, maybe slightly too closed relative to what I think you'd call a traditional swing, but that's not bad. So everything she did up until here isn't too bad. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I think her swing could probably be longer, like the demo of yours, just to go back and point that out. If you want to hit it further, that would be a good way to do it. Just make your arm travel more. But once she gets to this point in time, this is where some parts and pieces start to look a little bit different. So as she comes through this ball, I've got a red circle around I'll put it around the path of her hands here. You can see how the club at this point in time is starting to move back towards her. And watching impact, I think we get a pretty good picture of that here, where now you can see the club is hitting high on the face, slightly on the toe. Now coming through the ball, there's a lot of really nice form in here, especially how she doesn't overly twist the club face coming through the shot. The club exits in the right spot. Now what I'm noticing here is the amount that her arms are bent, and she still has the head looking down kind of pose in here. So when you hit down on a ball too much, one thing that can happen a lot is you hit the crown of the club and you pop those up. So angle of attack would be a good thing to practice with her. And I know you've got a good drill for that in a second, but one thing you need to do is practice this part of the form here. So once she has the shaft lining up pretty nice when it's parallel to the ground, that's where there needs to be some sort of grip end raising that she doesn't do very well. It stays really low to the ground and pulls slightly to the left. Not
Yeah,
wrong.
low and left.
Low and left, yep. For some people, that's good advice. That's not really good advice if you pop up your driver, though. She needs to feel like the grip is going out away from her, and she's bending backward and unhinging her wrists downward like that. So the shaft and her lead arm are closer to parallel to the ground. And keep your arms really straight as long as you can in the follow-through, and watch the ball fly. That's better advice than keep your head down. Keep your head down is obviously though if you've watched any of our videos, you know that's the worst advice, but let's take a look at two different swings. That's about where your hands and her hands are in the same spot. So anything in here you'd comment on since you made this swing?
Say my arms are a lot straighter, my left arm's a lot
Yep.
straighter, more extended away from my body. Yep, and the shaft is exiting a lot lower.
Yes, so not as quick with the
With the-
rehinging of
yeah,
the wrist.
rehinging, yeah.
And then how about your, do you think your head is probably turned, say, 90 degrees?
I'm looking at that golf ball.
More than her? Yeah. You're watching that just hit the screen.
Yeah, for sure.
And she is very focused with both of her eyes still looking down on the tee. It's probably some friend's advice, or what do you do when you don't know what to do? You do things
Yep,
like that.
keep your head down.
A lot of this swing is awesome, though. It's the part right where the shaft's parallel to the ground. You got to start moving yourself differently, stretching your arms out longer. Demo how to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to chip a ball out there?
You
or?
do the stick part, I think. It would be a
Yeah,
good,
okay.
good way to show her.
Yep, start with a drill, a good feel.
Yep.
Okay. So I'd like to just start with an alignment stick, and then if you've indoors, this works better. You put it down on the ground here. This would represent where she is right now at the P6 position. It's really good there. And then from here, your focus would be trying to get that stick up. So the end of the stick on the other side on the ground, try to get that as high as possible through,
Yep.
so in your follow through there.
So face that camera and do the same thing. Sorry, just face that camera like it's the front
Oh,
view.
that way,
Yep.
sorry.
No problem. I
I don't want to
say
swing
it
towards
wrong
you, I'm
anyway.
just,
That's
you know.
okay. I was going to follow it up with I'm way out of the way. So from that view that we were looking at those swings, that's good.
Yep,
But
from that position,
so
yep.
go to where the shaft's parallel to the ground.
There you go.
That part we mentioned looks really nice. Now
Yep.
it's just what do you do from here? So just drop the shaft or drop the rod down on the ground,
Yep.
and then get the grip end of the club moving up. And you do that a lot with yourself. So you notice how Connie's shoulders are back, her hips are up real high, both of her arms are straight, and she's staring that way, not down. The more do the follow through again the right way,
Okay.
just like you did. So the more that you look down, the harder it would be to keep your arms straight on this side of the ball. So most people bend them or re-hinge the club towards them
Yep.
quickly. So that's how you keep your arms straighter longer. You got to keep turning the top of your shoulders.
Yeah, I don't think I could get to that position if I put my head down.
No.
You know, and I'm very flexible.
Walk up and down the top golf range and see it all the time. There's
Oh,
some
yeah.
work to do with golfers, but that's really nice. I mean, she's got so much of that right, but if you make a mess of the downswing when the shaft's parallel to the ground through impact and then the first couple feet after the ball, you might hit some really bad shots like she's doing there. So I don't remember any of how we're going to close this, so it's up to you. You got some
Okay.
questions? Okay.
First, does bending backwards hurt your back?
Doesn't for me. If I didn't bend backwards, it would hurt me more, I
Yeah,
think.
it would
Yeah.
for sure. The worst way to play would be to try to swing your golf club fast, 100 miles an hour, and then right after impact, you continue to stay bent forward and just turn to try to slow the club down. That'd be a pretty awful way to
Oh, yeah.
twist your lumbar spine and your lower back. The safest way to do it is just what Connie demonstrated. And I think where people get this wrong, and you tell me the same thing, do your follow through all the way up to like 8.5 or so. Good. Okay, so Connie's hips are really high. She's got her weight on her front foot. She could probably stand there all day and do that because most of the extension is like ponytail up. It's not down here. Now, if you did this wrong, sorry, ready to do wrong? No, do it the other way.
Oh, too far.
So bend your knee.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, bend that knee. Keep going. That's not good, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm just here to like do the wrong thing and destroy my body.
I know. Well, I notice how I'm not doing that demo. That would be the worst way to do it. So you want to put your pelvis directly over your left foot. So if you do that in the follow through, you should be able to stand there all day because she's not doing much more with just the sagittal plane or this forward backward piece than I am. I'm just standing straight up, a little bit stretched out from like the buttons on my shirt backwards, and this isn't fine. or this isn't hurting at all. This feels fine. Now
Yep.
what you see in Connie doing is that she's turned 90 degrees, doing the same thing, tilted a little to the right, holding a club. So so that one dimension where you could hurt yourself isn't as visible. But that's how I would hurt myself. I would bend my knees, put my weight back, extend a lot from your lumbar spine, your lower back.
That would
That'll
hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't do that. What other question you got? That was a good one though. That comes up all the time,
Yeah.
especially when we talk about extending.
Mr. Pickles.
Mr. Pickles, it's a good name. I know that
Go
guy.
through the mechanics of how to flight your wedges lower.
That seems like a very tangential topic to what we've been discussing today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think? How do you hit a wedge lower? What's your first go-to move there?
Ball position,
Okay.
handle, at impact.
Okay.
You know, more.
You want a demo?
Yeah, for sure. With a
It's
semi
not a
one?
wedge, but yeah, that'll
Yeah.
do. And you can face that way. That'll be easy.
Yeah.
I'll get you
Sure.
a wedge too. Keep going. You're doing great.
Okay. Thanks. I
Trade
like
you.
that kid with the avocado. Thanks.
Mhm. Thanks. Okay, what do you do first?
Like ball position.
So
Get
where's
that
normal?
A little bit. Normal would
Gonna
be
test Evan's
middle
skills. Can you
forward.
get this
For
shot?
me, anyways.
Yep.
I prefer playing a little forward
Sure.
because I like getting my weight more left. I'd play it more middle back, handle maybe slightly more forward as well. Going
Why-
into impact, I would try to feel like I'd get even more forward, so getting my arms pressed that way. That will decrease the loft on that wedge as well.
Yeah, right.
Launch it a lot lower there.
And then the other thing you can do would be just slow down the speed.
Oh yeah.
So making shorter backswings and follow throughs. Take speed off and that lowers your launch.
Yeah.
But ultimately the loft is the biggest part. And whenever I see tour players who hit wedge shots that aren't very good, taught a few who are really bad wedge players. They hit the ball and start to go into the left wrist extension or start to rehinge the club back up really quickly. And amateur golfers in particular who hit the ball far or just spin it too much, that's the first piece of the puzzle, is to hit and have some command over your lead wrist extension so it doesn't just look like you're flipping pancakes into the air, like making breakfast this way.
Would you feel
Tossing
like
that up.
probably try to feel like you're longer through that follow through
Absolutely.
as well?
Yeah,
So that
'cause
should get
that's-
you.
It would be, I mean, here's the story. So if you don't move your wrists here and just lower the whole club and your arms back down to the ball, you have less loft on the club.
Yep.
If you come through the ball and you extend your lead wrist as much as you can and you go backwards from there, that isn't really happening to the extreme that you see, but it is starting to happen through the shot.
Yeah.
So less loft, move the ball back, shorter swing, longer arc follow through, don't extend your lead wrist.
Yep.
Did you get all that? Yeah?
Okay.
Now is it Connie's turn?
Now it's
Okay,
Evan's turn.
I'm done.
All right. Cool. So we're gonna have another one next week.
We are?
We all right, Brad? No. Okay.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
2
We'll be back
weeks.
in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And if you guys if you have any questions, you guys want us to have a look at your swing as well, send it to YouTube at golftech.com, and we'll catch you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I didn't know that.